How long have you been in a fat loss phase? 6 months? A year? Or maybe you feel like you've been in a fat loss phase all of your life. Most women over 40 don't even know what it feels like to not be dieting. I can relate to that. And that constant restriction is doing more harm than good. So, today, in today's episode, I want to unpack what reverse dieting means. What does it mean? There's a lot of talk about reverse dieting. There's a lot of questions surrounding reverse dieting. And it's also a very challenging. It's also a very challenging thing to do. So that's why I want to talk all about reverse dieting today in today's episode. It might be exactly what your body needs. Giving your body exactly what it needs rather than being in a fat loss phase all the time could be and is often the most powerful thing and freeing thing that you've ever done, especially if you feel like you've been in this fat loss phase most of your life. So let's get into it. Hey girl, welcome back to our show. Super glad you're here. Thank you so much for being such a loyal listener. Wow, it's been an exciting week. We closed up the open registration for Rock That Fitness, and we have a group of fantastic new Rockstar ladies that are on board, and this is their first week going through our, I guess, onboarding orientation, which we call Kickstart for 6 weeks, and it has been such a joy. Every time we have new Rockstar women that join Rock That Fitness, this is by far one of my favorite times because I get to have front row seats to see a woman taking action, taking back her health and her fitness, and truly making changes from inside, our thought patterns, why we do what we do, changing habits and behavior, and truly transforming from the inside out. And it's such a joy. And I don't take it for granted, not 1 minute that I get to do this. It's wonderful. I love it. I love what I get to do. Anyway, today, we've had a lot of talk surrounding reverse dieting. And what the heck is it? So I decided, why not? Let's just do an episode. I've been talking a lot lately about different mindset things. And I thought, let's go this direction for a little bit. Let's talk some, I don't know, science. Let's do a little education on this reverse dieting because people ask, what is that? And it's a funny thing because so many women that I talk to are in this fat loss phase. Like, of course, right? I'm in the business. I do this day in and day out. And of course, I have my transformation and women want to know, how did you do it? So many women are working hard to lose weight, to do this thing. And they are frustrated and they tend to be in this phase of fat loss, like indefinitely. And this kind of came up inside of RTF where it just seemed like our members, a lot of them, that was all they were concerned with. And, just full transparency here. It doesn't matter, what program you're in. I think that when you are over the age of 40, you've just been so freaking programmed to be always in a fat loss phase. Or you think you are in a fat loss phase. You're like always in this mindset of dieting. So we talked about this inside of RTF, and it was, getting into the nuts and bolts of it. And do you need to be in a fat loss phase all the time? Absolutely not. The interesting thing is that we are not intended to be in a fat loss phase. We are intended to live most of our life in maintenance, just living life, not thinking about being on a diet and in fat loss or whatever, right? We are intended to be in maintenance. Maintenance being the calories that our body is burning, the energy our body is burning is the same amount of energy and calories that we are taking in through our foods. That's maintenance. And we ought to be living our life, most of our life, in maintenance. So I wanted to kind of uncover and talk about what is reverse dieting. And some of the things I want to go over today, I'm going to tell you a little bit about my own personal experience with reverse dieting. I want to talk about exactly what is it? What is reverse dieting? Because that's the question that so many people are asking. And that gets thrown around, right? in social media, wherever you hear this in the weight loss and health and fitness, world. So we're going to talk about what is it? What else is it? How else do you refer to it? I want to talk a little bit about maintenance, reversing into maintenance from a fat loss phase. Like I just said, what maintenance is. And then I want to talk about some of the challenges, especially for those of us over 40. What are some of the main challenges that we face when we actually decide, you know what, I need to reverse diet. And then I want to share a couple of different scenarios that these kind of like make believe scenarios, because I want to give you an idea of the possibilities and what someone might expect if they decide to do a reverse diet. I want to give you a couple of scenarios about that. And yeah, just looking over my notes, that's kind of what I want to cover. So let me go ahead and get into it. I guess I want to start out by sharing kind of my own personal story when it comes to this, because as many of you already know, I've struggled with my weight most of my adult life. Probably by the time I'm in my late 90s to if I get to be that old, that's when I'll be able to say I haven't struggled most of my life with dieting. No, because truly didn't transform and turn things around until, my late 40s, right? And I'm 54 now. So as you know, I was that person that was constantly dieting, always thinking about fat loss, needing to be in a fat loss phase all the time. And I didn't know anything about maintenance and all of that kind of stuff. Even when I decided to go back to Weight Watchers multiple times, I didn't fully understand this thing called maintenance. They do have that, in that program, but not in an evidence-based approach type of way, which is like scientifically backed. And that's what I'm going to be talking about today. But for myself, like, it just wasn't a thing to think about. I used to think that I would be in a low calorie, and whatever that low calorie amount was, whatever that calorie deficit was that got me to my goal weight, that was the amount of calories I needed to stay with, because it got me there. I used to think that. And I think that is a common misconception for many women. And I hope that by the end of this episode, that this will open your eyes to see that there is so much more. There's so much more for you to understand that will be enlightening and freeing to you when you come to understand that there's more to life than being in a fat loss phase. But yeah, so when I did finally get to this point, as a nurse and knowing nutrition and understanding calories, understanding this energy balance, I realized that, I didn't want to be using any kind of dieting anymore. I truly needed to understand nutrition. And this is where I realized, especially understanding energy balance, and being that I am into fitness, into being strong and lean and fit, that it requires calories, that my body requires something beyond being on a diet if I want to maintain a healthy, strong physique and do this fitness thing. I knew I needed to understand that balance of energy. And so I learned that I needed to increase the amount of energy that my body was taking in so that I could restore, recover, and become more of like a furnace, burning those calories with this muscle on my body. I needed to learn how to fuel my body in a healthy way. And so I discovered and understood now what is reverse dieting. It means your body actually burns more calories than you think it does once you hit a certain place. And I'm going to talk about all this, but for myself, I realized that I needed to get up there. I didn't know how. I didn't know what that meant. And I will tell you right now, it was scary, because I didn't want to gain back all that weight. I didn't want to even gain back any more weight. Don't tell me to eat more, because, oh my gosh, if I eat more, I am going to gain weight. The scale's going to go up. I know I'm going to gain weight. And what have I been doing for all this time? I've been avoiding gaining weight. I've been working on shedding the fat, getting lean, getting strong, healthy, fit, shedding the fat. I don't want to take in more calories because, right, it just seems logically we remove calories so we can lose weight. Why would we add calories to gain weight? No, but that's why I want to help us understand what's going on here. But I did understand that. And so, since my own personal transformation of having lost over 60 pounds, and I did that within the matter of 18 total months. So it was like 14 months when I got to what I thought was my happy weight, my goal weight. And then I continued to have progress. So I continued to shed fat. And so ultimately I ended up um, becoming very lean and strong because I was, lifting and I was fueling my body and all this kind of stuff. But I knew that my body needed more calories. So I did it. I did the thing. And since then, I will say, because I'm 54 now, and that was back in 2017 and 2018. And since then, I've had a few phases where I went back into calorie deficit, where I went into fat loss phase. But now, did I need to? No, I've not gained back a bunch of weight ever since 2018. I haven't. But from time to time, I like to shed a little bit of fat so I understand what to do in order to do that. I know what kind of activity I need to do. I need to know how I know my food, my nutrition for me individually, my own personal, right? Because everybody is an individual, everybody's different, and what works for me and my body is going to be entirely different than what's going to work for your body. So, I've done this a few times, but like I say, it's not like I have gained a ton of weight. I'm talking, 5 to 7 pounds max. And even that doesn't mean that there's fat involved in there. It's more like paying attention to all the other progress, all of the other measurements of progress, pictures, measurements, how you're looking in the mirror, how your clothes are feeling. For me, this is not just about weight loss for me or for our clients of RTF. This is about body composition, where we want to make sure that we are, we're building muscle and we are shedding the fat for our health, for our fitness, and nothing wrong with for aesthetics as well. So I've done this a few times. I feel like I've pretty much mastered it. I'm not going to say like I've arrived and I've got it all figured. I'm perfectly, everybody's different. But I will say for my own self, I feel like I definitely have mastered, going into a cut and then reverse dieting back into maintenance. So, yeah, a lot has changed and I understand it, and I am here to help you understand it so that we can know that there's a lot going on here. And it's not just physically, it's also mentally, because there's a certain fear that's involved if you have been dieting most of your life and learning that it's okay to eat more once you have reached a quote unquote goal weight, or you want to fuel your body. You want to fuel your body so your body is healthy and fit and optimized. We have to understand reverse dieting. And there is an emotional side of this process because there's fears involved. Like I just said, there's mind shift. I can't even, hello. There are mindset shifts that have to take place. And also there are some identity rewiring things that have to happen in our mind, in our psychology. And I say this because it's really true. And I want to say this as a side note to you if you are on your fat loss journey and you have maybe, hit a wall over and over and you feel like, I get to this point and I, for some reason, never seem to actually get to where I want to go and reach a healthy fitness, fit chick, whatever it is, like you feel like you keep on hitting a wall. This is where the identity piece comes in. Yeah, I'm sneaking in some mindset stuff in here. I'm not going to be able to get away with that without doing that. But there does come a time where what has gotten you here in terms of your thoughts, your patterns of thoughts, what has gotten you here psychologically will not get you there. And that's what I mean when I'm talking about the identity piece. We have to rewire the identity. Yeah, there's going to be some more of that coming, by the way. I will be definitely talking about that some more in the future. So, I used to think that if I was actively, if I wasn't, sorry, I used to think that if I wasn't actively like dieting, that I was doing something wrong. But I had to learn that fueling my body and building muscle and honoring whatever season that I'm in is the way to go to finally feel strong, confident, and free. And I say whatever season because for me, most seasons for me are, living my life. I'm not thinking I've got a diet. But when I do decide that, you know what, I think I want to go into a little fat loss phase, I am going to pay attention to the season that I'm in. What's happening in my life? Am I in the middle of a crisis? This is not the time. I'll wait until I can see on the calendar things are cleared up. This is going to be a good, solid 4 to 6 weeks for me to tackle this for myself. It's different for everybody. But I'm just saying there is that piece. We do need to take in consideration what season we're in. All right. Now, let's get into the nitty gritty. Let's talk about what is reverse dieting. Reverse dieting is the intentional and gradual increase of calories after a period of restriction with the goal of restoring energy, with the goal of restoring your metabolism, and actually even restoring your hormonal balance, and doing this without regaining unnecessary fat. Okay, I'm going to take a little pause here real quick for a little sip of my Coke Zero. Cheers. All right. Thank you. I hope that you did a little chug the jug there. But what are some other terms that people use for describing reverse dieting? They call it a maintenance phase, but I think that they're mistaken because reverse dieting is not maintenance phase. Reverse dieting is a phase in itself where you're increasing calories to get to your maintenance phase. But some people say that. Recovery phase is another way, a metabolic restoration, a refueling, or a refeed phase. I like to call it more like a restoration phase. It is a restoration phase going from not severe, well, it could be severe, but going from a restriction in calories into restoration, restoring your body. It's not, so what am I trying to say here? I'm not trying to say like this is the trend, reverse dieting. I'm saying reverse dieting is a phase to get you into where your body is more fueled and you're thriving again. Because deficit, right? The word deficit is just the root word for deficiency. And that's what being in a calorie deficit does. It puts your body in a deficit, which, by the way, something that I'm always reminding our ladies in RTF is that when you do set your calories for fat loss, and when I'm not talking, it's important for us to know that it's not just calories, especially for us over 40, ladies over 40, we don't want to just be focusing on calories. We also want to focus on what those calories are made of, right? What are the macronutrients that you are putting into your body? But the thing that I do try to remind us all the time is that it's important that you're eating as many calories as your body needs and can take and still be in a deficit. And what does that mean? And I know this is a side note, but I want to help you think about this yourself. If you have been dieting and you are in a severe calorie deficit, which you could be, I don't know, but to understand that the goal is to eat as much as you can, as many calories as you're able to, while still being in a slight calorie deficit so that your body is well fueled as much as possible. Yes, you're in a slight deficit, but you will be doing your body a lot of harm if you are in a severe calorie deficit. So I just wanted to, kind of throw that in there. So why reverse diet? Why is it important to reverse diet or go into maintenance? It's actually necessary. And I encourage my clients to go into maintenance. We need to know. You know how many times I have asked, this is an interesting thing. It's funny to me that we can say, you want to lose weight, you need to be in a calorie deficit. And then right away, women will really quick tell me how to get in a calorie deficit. I'm doing that. But it's interesting that most women do not even know what their maintenance calories are, how many calories they're actually eating right now. So like, for example, if I said, you want to be in a calorie deficit, if I calculated for you and kind of helped you get a starting number for your calorie deficit, I might tell you, this would be let's try it here. Let's try a calorie deficit from, 17 to 1800 calories right now. And most women probably freak out because they're so used to going, oh, I'm going to do a calorie deficit. I need to be at 1200 calories, right? That's like the magic number that so many of us grew up being told. I was one of them. And saying, oh my gosh, 17 to 1800 calories. Well, the question becomes, do you even know how many calories you are currently eating on average on a daily basis? And so that's one of the things that I encourage women to do if they want to go into a fat loss phase. It is highly important. I think it's really important. I think it's very key to know what your maintenance calories are before deciding I'm going to do a calorie deficit. I think it's driving. You can do both. You can do a calorie deficit and then increase and play that game too. There's both ways. But even I do the same thing because your body's constantly changing. It's not always the same. And there's a lot of things, right? It's not just your body. It's what's going on with you metabolically in your life. What are the stressors? What's happening? So it can be different. So I even do the same thing. I will track maintenance for a while, see what is my average calorie right now before I go into a fat loss phase. So, but I highly recommend it, especially if you think you've been in a fat loss phase for a long time, or you've been severely restricted with your calories for a long period of time. Like, let's restore your body. Let's find out what your maintenance actually is. And sometimes what's interesting is that a lot of women are not even in a fat loss phase, or they're not even in a calorie deficit. They're like, I've been in a calorie deficit forever. And they actually haven't been. They just think they have. Their mindset's there. But anyway, after 40, there's a lot of natural changes in our hormones and our metabolism that make restrictive dieting even more taxing on our body. So if you've been in a calorie deficit for a long time, the body adapts to conserve energy. And so that's going to slow down your metabolism, right? It's also going to do some things with your hormonal signals, your leptin, your ghrelin, your thyroid. These things shift when you've been severely restricting or just restricting in general. There are some shifts that happen. And when I say hormonal signals of leptin and ghrelin, just as if you don't know what that is, those are the hormones, leptin and ghrelin. Leptin is a hormone, signals your body that you're satisfied when you're eating. And then ghrelin is a hormone that signals your body that it's, you're hungry. And then stress hormones like cortisol also increases when we're in a calorie deficit. And muscle loss becomes more likely when we're in a calorie deficit. This is why we want to make sure we're maintaining optimal amounts of protein. Probably going to hear that every time you talk to me about the importance of protein, because that's just one of those things that most women are not getting enough of or optimal amounts of. Being in a calorie deficit also creates fatigue and cravings and mood swings. Like, we can't deny this. And sometimes sleep issues, especially if you are in too low of a calorie deficit. And so fueling the body adequately is necessary. It's necessary to maintain lean muscle, have energy to train harder and recover and support hormonal function and reduce stress and inflammation. And so these things our body needs is a little recovery time, because that's what's happening when we've been in any period of time we've spent in a calorie deficit. These are the things that are happening. So especially ladies after the age of 40, how much more important do you think it is for us to let's get out of this dieting, out of this calorie deficit, and put our body in a restorative place for a while to recover, and also to help our bodies and help our metabolism be more responsive. This is the reason why so many women are struggling, because they've never put themselves back into a maintenance, a restorative state. So a healthy body, a healthy metabolism is a responsive metabolism. A metabolism that's in a deficit and that has slowed down its metabolic rate and has all of these going on is not going to be a responsive metabolism. I hope that makes sense. So who is a good candidate for going from a reverse diet into maintenance? Who is a good candidate for going into a reverse diet? Women who have been dieting for months or years. And this is one of the things that I tend to ask: how long have you been dieting? How long have you been in a fat loss phase? And has it been months? Has it been years? As I opened up this episode with, are you eating below 1,500 calories consistently? That's typical. I'm just kind of rounding about, but below 1,500 calories. I mean, even below 1,200 calories. Have you been doing that consistently? And do you feel that you are stuck at a plateau and with low energy? Are you feeling hungry all of the time or struggling with cravings? Are you struggling with cravings and thinking about, going wild, going hog wild? Is your strength training suffering? Are you noticing that you're not getting stronger? You're not building muscle? Have you lost? Oh, well, this is like I should say this. Most of us I don't know, some of us over 40 could still be on a menstrual cycle. So I take that back. But yes, women who lose their menstrual cycle, they definitely need to get into a reverse diet and restore the metabolism. Are you feeling chronically tired? Are you feeling puffy in spite of eating less? That's inflammation as well. And I'm not going to get into that. But I think it's very important to consider, first of all, if you've never reverse dieted and from reverse dieted into maintenance, then I highly recommend it. That's what I say when I say take a diet break. I think diet breaks are very important, especially two things. One is if you have been in a calorie deficit, but you're having a very difficult time sticking with it, and you're not consistent, but now you're not, that's a great time to reverse diet. And let's take a little diet break. That way you're restoring your metabolism, getting out of that plateau. Let's increase your metabolism. Let's increase and restore your energy, your stamina, your hormones, all these things. And let's bring back some restoration to you, and getting out of that fat loss phase, that calorie deficit dieting mentality is going to help you restore your mental state. Like, I'm not dieting. I get to enjoy a little bit more calories. Hopefully you're eating mostly healthy. Not saying, don't enjoy some of the fun foods, right? We want to definitely be able to incorporate those fun foods. Don't restrict yourself like that. Enjoy. But it gets our mind out of that constant dieting state to where maybe you go into a maintenance phase, go to reverse diet into maintenance phase for a while, to 2 weeks, 3 weeks, maybe even a month. I don't know, depending on your goals and where you're at and how much you have lost, how much progress you've made, and how much you feel like you still need to go. But take the break, because then you can come back and go all in again. Remember what I was talking about a couple of weeks ago when I said, are you all in or are you all out? Make a decision. Don't be in the middle. This is what I'm talking about. If you've been in a calorie deficit, but you haven't been consistent and you're feeling burned out by the whole dieting thing, this is a great time to reverse diet slowly over time, right? What that means, right, is increasing your calories back up into maintenance. It's a good time to do that. So that way, when you get back, you're like, you know what, I'm going to go into maintenance. I'm going to reverse diet. And by the way, reverse dieting, it's typically going to take a week, maybe 2 weeks to reverse diet. It's up to you. You can slowly do it a little over time, 50 calories, 100 calories a week, daily for a week or two until you get up to your maintenance. I'm not going to get into how to do this. This is really more about the importance of getting into a maintenance phase from using reverse dieting. But yeah, it's very important to do that. Give yourself a break. So that way, when you come back, when you're like, okay, I'm going to do this for 2 weeks, I'm going to reverse diet back into maintenance for a week, 2, 3, or whatever's going on in your life, where maybe you are traveling a lot and that's not a good time for you. You're going to be, all of your mental, energy and focus is going to be somewhere else. Maybe that's a good time for you to go into maintenance for a while and then come back. You hit it hard, You're back in. You're all back in. You're back in. You're focused. You're consistent. You're back in the mental state, back in the game. That's what I'm talking about. That's the power of taking the break when you are on your weight loss journey, your fat loss journey. So now let's talk a little bit about some of the biggest challenges for women over 40 that are always in a dieting phase, but maybe thinking about going into a reverse diet. I'm going to take a little swig here. Hold on, pause. That's good. It's me. If you're watching me on YouTube, I love my Coke Zero, y'all. I know. Anyway, so good. Anyway, like I said, most women over 40 have never intentionally reverse dieted back into maintenance, let alone increased food on purpose. Why? Because they're afraid of gaining the weight. Like I said, most women that I have asked, when I say, what is your maintenance calories? They're like, I don't know. If you don't know, it's probably a good idea to find out. Probably need to go into a maintenance phase. And I'm talking about if you've been dieting. Okay. I'm not talking about like you haven't been dieting, none of that. Like that, you should probably just track your calories for a while and find out what is your current maintenance right now to know where you stand. But like I say, chronic dieting is going to cause your body harm. Like I said, it's going to slow your metabolism. It can trigger muscle loss, raising cortisol, stress levels, impact sleep, recovery, libido. Forgot about that one. And it also creates this constant thought and, fixation on food. And it gives you just like a mental fatigue. So the fear is real going into a reverse. And like I say, I've experienced this too. Like you're afraid that you're going to gain back all your weight. But realize this, if you've been in a fat loss phase for any period of time and you've been making progress, think about this for just a moment. This might help ease your fears, your concerns. If you've lost a lot of weight, going reverse diet into a maintenance phase, you're not going to gain back all of that weight. I mean, first of all, you already know if you do gain back a little bit of weight or some weight, you already know how to lose the fat. You already know that, right? You already have the tools. You know how to do that. But we've got to learn how to stop dieting and move into maintenance. So the other fear that happens is if I stop dieting, I'm going to lose control. I'm going to lose total control. I hope that doesn't happen. But these are the fears. I feel guilty eating more. And these are some things to be thinking about. What is the fear? And let's get more rational about it. And let's get clinical. Clinically, let's talk about this for a minute. Science. When you're getting on the scale, you're checking your weight on the scale, the bathroom scale in your birthday suit, and you see that fluctuation go up a pound, down a pound, 2 pounds up, 2 pounds down, that fluctuation on a daily basis, let's get real. That's not fat. Typically, it's water weight. Or maybe you had a lot of food that day and you have extra food in your digestion. But scientifically, you're not gaining fat in one day because it takes 3,500 calories to equal 1 pound of fat. Do that math. When you have gone over your calories in a day, was it beyond 3,500? Like, was it your regular calories for the day and then some, 1,300 or 3,500 calories? Like, this is where we have to just be like logical. No, typically you're not eating that enough calories to get, and you're not going to be gaining fat, 1 pound of fat in a day, because this building muscle, it doesn't happen in a day, right? Your body has to do that over time. It's not going to happen in one day. And understand that doing this strategically with a reverse diet process, this is not giving up. This is actually giving your body an opportunity to restore. And it's probably the best thing you can do for your body, right? Your body needs to restore the energy, restore function, get restoration to your joints, your muscles, your bones, your hormones, all of these things, building muscle to maintain long-term results. Well, what's going to happen if you just do this dieting thing? You're not going to go anywhere. This is the power of understanding and doing a reverse diet if you've been in a fat loss phase. Because if you've been in a severe fat loss phase for a long time, even if you have been in a fat loss phase and you have lost a lot of weight and you're at a quote unquote ideal weight, you've been at an ideal weight for a long time, but you aren't building muscle, you're not maintaining muscle, and you're at a very low calorie, you for sure, I would highly recommend that you do this reverse dieting and restore your body. But that's what I'm talking about. It's not giving up. This is a strategic phase of healing your body. And the other part, like I said, is this fear of the scale going up. And like I said, that doesn't mean that that's a sign of fat. That's not a sign of fat gain. The scale is going to increase. And here's the reasons why. So you can know logically, scientifically, the reasons why the scale is going to go up. This is something you need to expect. Have an expectation that the scale is going to go up when you go into reverse dieting, into maintenance. It's not going to skyrocket and stay there, but there will be an adjustment period. But here are the reasons why. It's not bad. What's happening is your glycogen replenishment is happening. So as you eat more carbs, your body is going to be storing more glycogen. That's the body's fuel in your muscles. And that's going to bring water with it, right? Because this, just imagine carbs, sugar, okay? Sugar and salt hold water. So we're bringing more water into the body. And so with each gram of glycogen, you're going to be holding somewhere around 3 grams of water. So the point is, you're replenishing that glycogen, that fuel to your muscles. That's why you're going to see a little increase on the scale. The other reason is, like I said, increased food volume in your digestion. Simply eating more food, simply having more food in your digestive tract is also going to cause a little increase on the scale. Improved hydration. So when your body is underfed, it often sheds water. So eating more restores the fluid balance. So like I said, if you have more carbs on board, you're holding more water. And then hormonal rebalancing. So as estrogen and leptin stabilize, your weight can temporarily rise. And I say temporarily because like this is all an adjustment, right? And everything is fluctuating. This is not linear, but understand there is going to be some increase on the scale. And we can't be afraid of that. If we're truly in it to win it, and we want restoration, and we want to age healthy and strong, we've got to be understanding that this is just science and it's data. And let's look at it that way and start tracking things. Know your body. You'll understand. Sometimes the scale is going to go up on a day that you ate Chinese food, right? Because we know that's full of salt. So just be wise and understand, like, if you're afraid, take a step back and say, what am I afraid of here? This is just data, and there's reasons why the weight is going up. But this is the hard part. It's actually so hard for so many women to see the scale go up. There is a crazy psychological thing that we've got to rewire. But when you're aware of it, now you have power to decide, am I going to let this scale have power over me? Or am I going to do the thing that I know scientifically I need to do to restore my body? What to remember again is, like, just remember it's not fat gain. Okay. This is your body and functioning better. So look at it as like better energy, better mood, strength, sleep, digestion, libido, and not just the scale, right? We don't want to focus on the scale. The scale is only one thing. Focus on these things that you know, they are the bigger picture. They're the things that really matter. How are you feeling, girl? I bet you're going to feel so much better, more stamina. Your performance in the gym is going to be better. You're going to have more energy doing your workouts. So a few pounds up while your body gets stronger and more resilient and less inflamed, that's a powerful trade. Experiment with this. It's all an experiment. It's kind of fun. Cheers. I'm going to take a little sippy sip. So there kind of becomes a little bit of an identity crisis because many women have built their identity around dieting and shrinking and being small. And so letting go of that kind of feels like you're quitting, but you're not quitting. You're stepping into a new, stronger identity. You're understanding the science behind what's happening with your individual body. So you're not a dieter. You're a woman building a strong, energized, confident life. And that requires what? Nourishment. So I want to go into a couple of scenarios that I think will help give you a little bit of an idea of what this actually can look like on two different scenarios. These are make-believe scenarios that I put together. So two different scenarios, two women. They're both age 45. I made all this up, okay? 45, 5'6" in height, weighing 200 pounds. So this would be Rachel. She is lean, muscular, and this is post fat loss phase. She's 45 pounds. She's 5'6". She started out at 200 pounds. Her goal was significant fat loss and muscle definition. Gotta love it. And she completed multiple strategic fat loss phases over a couple of years. And her final kind of hovering weight is 145 pounds. Through structured strength training consistently and dialing in her nutrition for her individual body needs. And now she is visibly muscular in tone. She appears lean and strong, and she has been tracking her macros diligently, and she didn't need to rush the process. Isn't that beautiful? That's one scenario. And that's not me. Okay. This is my make-believe scenario, but I relate to this scenario. I relate to that one. Here's another scenario for somebody that would do a reverse diet. This is wasn't it? Oh yeah, I'm not there yet. Oh, no. I didn't even tell you her experience, my notes. I'm confusing myself. Okay. So that I relate to this person. So let me tell you about Rachel's what was her plan? What happened with her reverse dieting experience? This is the part I really want you to understand here. This is why I wrote down these notes because this is Rachel's reverse dieting experience. Her fat loss phase calories. This is where you understand this. Her fat loss phase calories, the macros that made up her calories, 1,700 calories. But now that she's in maintenance, her calories are 2,200 calories. Big difference. See, but did you know that? Did you know you could actually eat significantly more and not gain back all your weight? This is the part I want you to understand because of the amount of lean muscle that Rachel built and her consistent training, her metabolism adapted positively over time. Her maintenance calories are relatively high for her size, but that's because she has more muscle. And that equals higher calorie burn at rest. I relate to this. This is what I'm telling you. Like, muscle is gold. We want to restore that muscle that you're losing. Build it up, girl. You want to be a fire. You want to burn those calories. You want your body to be a calorie burning furnace. And because she was consistent with her movement and strength training and her NEAT, right? Non-exercise activity thermogenesis. She reverse dieted slowly and strategically from 1,700 calories to 2,200 calories over several months. And she experienced a 2 to 3 pound increase on the scale due to what I said earlier, the glycogen and water, but she has maintained the same physique and even looked fuller and stronger. Like her muscles look fuller and stronger now. So mentally, she struggled with allowing herself more food, but eventually she found freedom and in eating enough to maintain her hard-earned results. And so now she feels energized, strong, hormonally balanced and stable and free from constant dieting. And I relate to this Rachel scenario. Rachel's story shows what's possible with consistency, long-term strategy. Maintenance isn't just where you coast. It's where you preserve what you worked so hard to build. And I think like I said, I relate to this Rachel story. So here is the other scenario, very real scenario. And I'm telling you, these are real scenarios. I mean, I know I created these, but these are real scenarios, and I didn't want to bring somebody in. I probably should bring somebody in here with some of these, and I will in the future, but I did want to just create these so you can get a very clear understanding of what's going on. Here is another scenario. Lisa, getting started after her first fat loss phase, getting started on, the reverse diet. So Lisa is 45 years old. She is 5'6". Her starting weight is 175 pounds. She has lost 20 pounds, and her current weight now is 155 pounds. She's new to strength training, and she's fat loss focused. She's been fat loss focused for several months, still building consistency with food logging and workouts. And her fat loss phase calories for her body and her metabolism is 1,500 calories. Her estimated maintenance calories is 1,800 calories. See how different that is? This is the thing. Everybody's different genetically, built differently, biologically differently, anatomically differently. So Lisa's reverse dieting experience looks like this. Lisa completed her first fat loss phase, but her body is still adjusting. She doesn't have a lot of lean muscle yet. Her maintenance calories are lower than someone like the first scenario with Rachel. She's a little afraid to increase her calories because she feels like she hasn't earned it yet. Does that sound familiar? She's scared that she's going to undo her hard work. This is the scary part, the psychological part that we have to push through if we want to learn how to live in maintenance. It's so important. Maintenance phases are so beautiful. They're great. They're great to take a break. It gives you the chance to be off the diet, off the fat loss phase for different seasons of your life. It's a great thing. Anyways, like I said, she's afraid to undo her hard work. So when she began adding calories back in, the scale fluctuated 2 to 4 pounds, which triggers anxiety. Oh my gosh, I'm gaining weight. But when she started to understand and she was educated and she had the support she needed, she realized that's normal. It's due to water. It's due to food. It's due to food volume. It's due to hormonal shifts. Her body needs fuel to build muscle, support her workouts, and avoid burnout. She decided to hold steady at 1,800 calories, that maintenance, for 2 to 3 months. That's a long time. Like, she chose that in this scenario to build strength, stabilize her hormones, and get out of a dieting mode. But this story is very common. This is still making progress because it's rewiring the old thinking. It's rewiring the eat less, weigh less mindset. This is like a great time to nourish your body and see what your body can do in terms of strength in the gym, building that muscle up, right? Before entering back into a fat loss phase, if that's the choice. So reversing into maintenance is a great opportunity for somebody like this to build muscle. It's a great opportunity because the body's going to be having the building blocks. The brick house is going to have the bricks to build the muscle and the energy for the body to actually do that thing, build the muscle. So these two scenarios that I just shared with you, reverse dieting into maintenance for these two, it's not a one size fits all process. That's what I'm trying to get across, is that it's going to be very individual depending on your background, your history of dieting, your genetics, your biology, your body and everything, and your age and all the things. Your calorie needs depend on your own muscle mass. Like I said, your own dieting history, movement, metabolism, all of these things. There's a lot of factors involved. This is why, a little plug here, why one-on-one personalized coaching is so effective, because you have a coach that's guiding you, supporting you, and helping you make those decisions as you stay consistent with doing the things that are required for your individual body's needs. And these things shift. These things are constantly shifting, especially as we're aging, right? These things don't stay the same. So however I'm living my life today, currently, is going to be different than whatever I'm encountering in my life 5-10 years from now, when I'm in my 60s, in my 70s. It's going to be different. Things are always shifting, and we need to listen to our body. We need to know. You need to know your body so that you can fuel it for the season that you're in, for the phase of life that you're in, and stop fearing this number on the scale. Because bottom line is that tends to be the biggest anxiety thing, the biggest fear that so many women have when we say we're going to reverse diet and start adding calories back to your diet. Let's restore your body. It's a very scary thing. So what's happening? Let's be real. You might not say this because a lot of women think, oh, that scale is just a data. It's just a number on the scale. It's just data. It doesn't bother me. Okay, I am not making fun, but when the scale starts to go up, most women are going to freak out a little bit because we've been programmed to think about the scale going up is bad, the scale going down is good, but you're smarter than that now. Now you know. Now you're aware and you know. So we've gone over quite a bit today. It's probably a little longer than I thought this was going to go, and I really hope that this has opened up your eyes to see that, fat loss isn't supposed to be long-term. It's not something that you're supposed to live in. And this is why so many women are frustrated all of the time, because they are constantly thinking, I need to go on a diet, or they're in a diet. They're either thinking they need to go in a diet or they need to stay in a diet, but they haven't thought about going through phases, dieting phase, reverse dieting phase, maintenance, building phase, restoring phase. There are phases. It's not just fat loss. And I really do hope that has helped. So you don't need to reverse diet, but you do need to understand what happens when you're always in a deficit. Because like I said earlier, there are things that are happening when you're in a calorie deficit. Deficiency is, your body's in a deficiency. So just honor the season that your body is in. So we went over all these things. I really do hope that, like I said, that it was helpful to you. And I'm really curious if any of the things that I talked about today were either helpful or spoke to you or created even more questions. If that's the case, I would love to hear from you. Please email me at Anna@rockthatfitness.com. Or of course, you can always message me on, any of the social platforms that I'm on: Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. I just want you to know something, girl. You are not broken. And the more you learn about yourself, the more you discover about yourself, the better you're going to be, because you're going to be able to step into your new identity, getting through these things, learning about your body and doing what your body needs specifically, rather than, going off some kind of diet that has all these restrictions and rules. I mean, rules alone, and, eliminating things and all of these things that you have to do that's not meant for your body. Those are cookie cutter things. All of the programs, all of those diets, they're cookie cutter. So what works for one person isn't going to work for the next. I want you to feel empowered and know what the heck is happening with you. And I do understand there's hormonal things going on as well. But like I always say, you have so much more that you have power over when it comes to your physique, your health, your fitness, your metabolism. So get wise, girl. Know the signs, know your body. Awareness is power. And now I hope that your awareness surrounding reverse dieting has opened up some thoughts for you. And maybe that's something you're going to do. Give it a try, or you need some help. If you need some help, reach out to me. I don't think we're going to have anything necessarily. Oh, I know. I don't know when the next Jumpstart Challenge is going to be. I don't know if we're going to have one again here in 2025. I don't know. We may. So if you're at all interested in the next challenge that we're going to have, check out the show notes and grab your spot. Grab your spot in the wait list for the next challenge that we have with Rock That Fitness. You don't want to miss it. And then I'll know. You can be there on the wait list for the next open registration for Rock That Fitness, or on the wait list for our next free challenge. So look in the show notes and grab that for yourself. As a reminder, let me just remind you how I want to wrap this up, is to remind you that you don't have to live your life in the fat loss lane. Sometimes the real progress happens when you give your body the freedom to heal, to fuel, and to thrive. I love you so much. I hope that this has served you well. And yeah, as I always say, self-care, self-love all day, every day, in every way. Do I have your word? Good.